Hello there. Welcome to another lecture from Matthew McKenzie. I promote awareness on unpaid caring, and as you can see from this title, it's called Surviving the Holiday Season as an Unpaid Carer. And as you probably know by the making this video is coming up to Christmas. One thing I want to mention in all, if not most of my lectures, really, to be honest, is I'm coming from this lived experience point of view in regards to what I've learned in my caring journey. And the other thing to also note that my caregiving journey was caring for someone with mental health or supporting someone with cancer. So some of the things might not click with yourselves because I always often say each person's caregiving journey is different. We can't easily compare caring experiences to others, but at the same time, there's certain things you can pick from them. Some things are common in the caregiving journey or the lived experience, something that I will promote at another lecture in future. But I want to try and keep this one really short. As you can see, some of the topics here that I'm going to present on, and they'll probably be at 9 or 10. I'm going to make this really brief. One thing that I've learned when I was caring, or in some sense still am actually, supporting my brothers when they spend time with me for the holiday season. There's certain things that I would try and do. As you can see here, some of the stuff is your emotional well-being, looking at self-care, reducing isolation, because one of the common themes when it comes to unpaid carers is that you can easily be isolated in your role. So it's so important to connect with others, but in a limited way as well. That's something I will talk about because you don't want to be overwhelmed. And as you know, in the holiday season, um, it's important to involve your loved one if possible, if they want to be involved. But there are ways to do it. So without that, what we'll do, we'll start now. We'll start with the first lot. Surviving the holiday season, unpaid care. I'm sure you can tell by the picture. You're thinking to yourself, how on earth am I going to do this? I'm caring for someone. Things are going to be shut down. Hence, support systems will be on a break. But you're not going to be on a break. You're going to be caring and you're going to be trying to make the best of the holiday season, a moment to remember. So let's start with the first thing that I feel for myself and might be for yourself. I don't really know, but I'm putting it out there to say prioritize self-care first. No matter what comes up first, it's always, whether it's the holidays or not the holidays, is a bit about the self-care for yourself. What do I mean by that? Plan short breaks during the day. One thing in the holiday season, especially when it comes to Christmas, is that it puts an emphasis that you're doing even more things for other people. And you might forget this. And you might do the Christmas shopping. You might put up the decorations. You might start sending out gifts, contacting others, see how they're doing. But it's always important, even if it's just for 10 minutes, because you've been almost in a non-stop role as an unpaid carer. And what we don't want to see is risk of burnout or situations where you get fatigued. So even if it's just 10 minutes, plan short breaks, sit down, maybe watch something, do something you enjoy, schedule breaks. And here's an example, taking a quiet walk. Not going to be so quiet if you're walking towards a shopping centre. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of people rushing around for gifts. Another thing is meditate. I know it sounds cheesy or corny, but it does work. And it's the point of meditation, actually, because I sometimes usually a fair bit of it is to notice what's around you, not to quiet your brain or quiet your mind. It's going to be busy making noise anyway, but if you notice it, then that's the start of the meditation. And if you don't fancy all that stuff, then just sitting down with a cup of tea is just as well as prioritizing self-care. Another thing during the holiday series, especially Christmas, is that you'll be asked to do a lot more than you feel you can. So it's important to set boundaries, and something I will cover later on, probably at the end of this session. You don't have to attend every event or fulfill every request, and trust me, there will be friends or families asking for you to attend their Christmas do, or maybe they want to say, "Are you putting a Christmas do?" Or if it's not Christmas, a specific holiday function. Remember, as an unpaid carer, you have perhaps been caring maybe non-stop. Um, Sometimes you have to say no, obviously politely, but you have to protect your time and energy. And the reason I say this is you don't really know when you'll need that time and energy for something else, but protect what you have. Another thing is to plan ahead. I will cover this in a fair bit, but it's important to set realistic expectations when it comes to the holiday season. You just cannot do everything. And why am I saying this? Well, instead of trying to do everything, just focus on a few meaningful traditions. Remember, being an unpaid carer, I suspect you will still be doing this. You will still be looking out for the person that you're caring for. It's a friend, family, close relative, neighbor, even. You don't have to focus on every aspect of that holiday season. And a good example during the Christmas period, at least Christmas period, um, don't feel like you have to cook so much. Obviously, there's certain things you can just buy, and this is when you're in a heavy care role. Someone's in long-term physical health needs, and respond relying on yourself. So, if that's the case, it doesn't hurt to just buy something that is prepared. Not all the time, obviously, but it might save time when someone needs your attention. Um, it, this is a tricky one because we all want the best. We all want a holiday that everyone wants to remember, that the family wants to remember. But at the end of the day, um, it doesn't have to be perfect. Even if you're trying to most minimize things, um, you don't have to put yourself out too much because, as I've mentioned, from what I've learned anyway, there's only so much you really can do. So be realistic on what you're trying to achieve for that holiday season, because you never know when someone that you're trying to support might need your help. And what we're trying to reduce is carer burnout, and that can easily happen. We want to make the best holiday period we can, but sometimes in your role, it's not always going to be possible. The other thing is to seek help and share responsibilities. It's easy to fall into the situation where because you're caring for someone, you want to try and do the best you can. Um, and it is this thing where there is a form of care stigma. You don't really want to admit that you might struggle in that role. And to make this thing more difficult, you're in this holiday season, you want to make the best of that. Um, but the problem is, it's taking up a lot of your time. So this is when it's important to start thinking about, how can I share those responsibilities? So it's important to offer that support. Don't be afraid to ask families or friends to help in that caregiving task, especially when it comes to that making plans and preparations for the holiday, because you might be in a situation you're caring for a loved one whose health has deteriorated, because obviously there's lack of support systems out there because they might be closed during that period. So seek help, whether it's friends or families, with that caregiving task. And that could be, this is not always the case, but someone that can stay with your loved ones while you have to do any errands. This might be tricky if you're long distance care. You not actually don't have to live with that person that you're trying to support. But it doesn't hurt to ask friends and family, who's going to do any visits during that period. You have to ask around, or even, friendly neighbors that may be that may know of that situation with your loved one. It's going to also tap into the community resources. Some might be open, but as I've always mentioned, and we'll cover this, planning ahead. Now, what else is out there regarding respite care services, care support groups? I mean, I'm gonna, run one or two over the holiday period, or even programs that can assist during this time. And there usually are a few, but it's always good to plan before then. See what's open, what's available. Ask around before you find yourself in a situation that you can't get that community resource or the support when the caring role does become more drastic. Another thing is to involve your loved one. And that might be to find activities during that period where they want to experience the festivities during that holiday situation. Remember, it's still a family unit or a unit where you're supporting a close friend. It's understandable that as a carer, we want to make the best of the holiday season. So, why not involve the person that you're trying to support? And as you can see, I've put a few things like it could be a movie or even listening to music. One of the biggest things in caring for someone is their health does not define the character. They're still a person, and this goes double for mental ill health. If you care for someone with mental illness or living or care for someone living with mental ill health, it still means that they want to celebrate and be part of the holiday situation season, um, just because of what they're going through. And it can be something that they want to remember as well. So involving your loved one is an important thing. And you can include them with small tasks as well. It could be like wrapping gifts or decorating. Obviously, you don't want to pester them. If they want to do it, don't pester them to do it. But it's something they can also remember as well. The other thing is, again, your emotional well-being. This is something, as I said, you might not think it's important. It helps me. That's all I'm sort of saying from a lived experience point of view. There might be situations, and I'll give you a good example. One thing that hit me is that you look around during the holiday season, it seems everyone else is having a good time. They're rushing around with their family, children, looking really happy. And you're thinking to yourself, why am I not happy? It's obvious you're in a in a caring role. You're witnessing your loved one struggling. You're witnessing a lot of emotional pain. Now, I know there are those that are thick skinned and perhaps can cope with this. That's fine. And, you know, perhaps they can continue to do this, but this is not the case for everyone out there. When they see these things, this impacts their emotional well-being, just like it did for myself. So it's important to acknowledge your feelings. Now, why would I say this? It is normal to be overwhelmed. It is normal to be lonely and isolated because that's what will happen. You'll have to stay with your loved one, whether it's mental ill health they're going through or even long-term physical health. And you will be resentful during the holiday. Just as I mentioned before, you will observe those out there um, celebrating the Christmas period or any other holiday period. Even though I'm doing this one during Christmas, it can be applied to other holiday periods. People are rushing around smiling, buying those gifts. You turn on the TV, there's people in, happy singing, and yet there you are, as the picture shows here, thinking to yourself, why am I not in this situation? Why am I not happy? So acknowledge those feelings. Acknowledge, you shouldn't be guilty about this, because once you acknowledge those feelings, it's a first step to try and tackling them. The other things also, you can reflect on small moments of joy and connection because that's part of the holiday season situation. It actually reminds us to experience some moments of joy because that, believe it or not, there are moments of joy in the caregiving role, and there are moments of connection, even in those difficult times. There are situations, and I found this, I've missed those moments of joy because I was always focusing on what do I need to do next, instead of slowing down and thinking, oh, you know, my loved one said thank you, and I didn't realize it. Or they asked if I wanted a cup of coffee or something like that, and I didn't realize it. So it's the small moments of connection. It doesn't have to be one struggle to the next. There is forms of gratitude. It's whether we recognize it. The next bit is plan ahead, and so I've clicked on that. But this goes to, I would say, an important thing you need to do even before, I would say, even focusing on your well-being. Planning ahead, I would sort of say, helps to avoid crisis, because if you hit a crisis, then your well-being is going to take a nosedive anyway. And this is something that's especially needed during the holiday season, because there'll be a lot of services, support that might be lacking, because obviously people are going to take a break. Those things are going to take a break during the holiday season. So one of the things you might try and again, I'm only saying this is what helps me, is organize your time. Create a schedule that includes the caregiving tasks, holiday activities, and breaks to yourselves. Don't sort of rush here and there without a plan, because what you will risk is care burnout, to be honest. And to make matters worse, the holiday season asks even more of us. We want to please people, in a sense. We want to buy those gifts. We want to go to the shopping mall, shopping center. We want to contact uh, others in our family unit. We want to attend functions, festivities. We want to, and it's endless. And yet you're still in that caregiving role. So it's a holiday in a sense. I'm not saying this in a sense that as carers, you can't ignore the holiday season. Um, you just have to plan, do the extra planning, because you do deserve a rest. You do deserve a break. And I think, as it came to my situation, you can't always expect others to sort of be there for us. Sometimes we have to take control and say to ourselves, look, we're going to make sure we're going to have a little bit of a break, even when it comes to the caregiving tasks. So I put that map there. Think to yourself, how can I incorporate that without making myself overwhelmed? The other thing that can be done, and the earlier you can do this, and you're probably going to learn each year, to be honest, because there's some things that might not go well, but there might be emergencies. Obviously, someone's depending on you during that holiday period. If their health does deteriorate, if there's a crisis, it could be more of an emergency. So it helps to prepare for those emergencies. So ensure you have certain medications that are stocked up if need be, emergency contacts on the emergency list, just in case something kicks off during the holiday season. And I've known many other carers who attend my groups have mentioned to me what happened when they didn't prepare. So these things can happen. It doesn't hurt to think to yourself or put in a list what things you might need to do in an emergency. The other things you can do in celebrating your own way, it doesn't have to be about the traditional ways of doing things. You don't have to rush around doing the decorations. Remember, as I said, it is a holiday, and that means for yourself as well. But the situation you find yourself in is the caregiving role, so you have to incorporate that into how you're going to celebrate this holiday. So it doesn't, don't feel guilty about celebrating it in your own way. It doesn't have You don't have to prepare. Well, not prepare, but compare in regards to how others are celebrating their holiday situation. They might not be in that caregiving role, so you adjust it. And it could be, you don't have to have Bob and Sue and their family and another family around for Xmas dinner. And when you're trying to care for someone with long-term illness, it's going to be really difficult. So you might just think to yourself, a quiet dinner with the person that you're caring for is just fine. If you want to increase that connection, and I will cover this in a later part of this lecture, it could be a virtual call. You know, this is a more increasing ways of connecting to others virtually. And I'm not saying it's going to beat connection when someone is around your place. It might not be, but it's one option you can do in order to reduce the pressure in your situation of caring for someone. There might be a situation where parts of that holiday period you can't do it. You just cannot celebrate it on that day. It's just going to be too difficult because there's someone relying on your support. So why not celebrate it on a different day if need be? Um, it doesn't have to be too far out of that holiday period. It could be the next day or the day after, or even the week after. You might still want to experience that holiday period, but it doesn't mean again you don't have to compare to what others are doing. So if the holiday's too busy, pick another day to celebrate when things are just a bit calmer, or when support systems are there and available. You can think to yourself, I'm going to celebrate this at, just another time. And it doesn't have to be just the Christmas. It could be something, again, where it is a holiday and you think, okay, look, things are difficult during that period, and that person I'm caring for is relying on me, so I'm going to just choose a different day. One of the most important things, you see a picture of a carer on the phone, and the reason I say connect with other carers is they just get it. Not always, though. I've been in situations, unfortunately, where carers just don't get it. But most of the time, they do. So it helps to connect with others that have had experience of, the holiday situation. I have met up with other carers, especially at care centres, where they are celebrating that holiday period, whether it's Christmas get together or New Year's get together. The care centres and support groups get it, and they may contact you and say, listen, if you have time, we can arrange some respite. You can meet up at the care centre or even online events. And it's not just experiencing the connection with others, there's also sharing experiences and tips. I'm just giving my own lived experience view. You may learn from other carers on online support groups or support groups out in the community where you can learn from tips, because some of the stuff I've mentioned here might not be applicable to you. And this is again with learning from others. You can also learn from how other carers manage their holiday season. The stuff that I'm saying might not be of any use whatsoever, but there may just be other things other carers mention that might be of use to yourself. So it's just what I've learned as well. There's some things in the past I just didn't know how to cope until another person said to me, they've coped in this way. Being open about your needs is important. As you can see, friends and family during the holiday situation might not always understand about your caregiving role. This is quite common, to be honest. Friends and well, especially families can be complex. So don't leave them guessing in some sense. Let's let them know what you're able to do and what you can't do. And perhaps they can even support you in your caregiving role as well. And you might have just seen it, setting boundaries. This is the most sort of difficult negotiation situation because you'll be pressured really when it comes to friends and families. So politely decline events if you need to. You might not have to always do it, but think about that. Certain tasks that might feel overwhelming, and remember, if you're in that caregiving role, you're going to have to support someone that needs your help. So it doesn't hurt to politely decline. Um, it's a bit of educating others as well. Some just might not understand that caregiving role, and you're just trying to say to them, you just can't because your someone's relying on you. Also, I've mentioned the caregiving role isn't just about a burden, isn't just about the anger, the desperation, the isolation, the loneliness. It's not just about that. There's as I'm during the holiday season, and I'm not guilty in saying this, to be honest. There are moments of joy in it, even if it's just small, something that I've learned. So mindful practices is to take that moment where there are simple joys, like, and this is, I don't know the best word for it, to be honest. Is even linked to some sort of meditation, in a sense. What do you notice during the holiday season? And sometimes because we've been through Christmas before, we don't tend to notice often about the small things, the Christmas tree or the lights or, the sun even rising. It doesn't hurt just to at least take a couple of seconds to experience a moment of joy. It's once a year. Um, Sometimes I understand some people hate Christmas, and there are things about Christmas I don't like as well. I agree. But there are moments and they're fleeting, they're very quick. If you can notice them, it can help with mindfulness, put you in the present, basically. That's the core theme I'm trying to get at. There are situations, especially the caregiving role, that takes you out of being in that moment. Celebrate small wins. Surviving the holiday period isn't going to be easy. If you manage to do it bit by bit, acknowledge those wins. Acknowledge the effort you put in. Give credit to yourself. One thing about mental health is it chips away at our own well-being. It slowly does this. We tend to rush here, there. We don't acknowledge these things. Before you're stressed, you're angry, you're depressed. One thing that can guard about that is to acknowledge that you are doing a good job. Give credit to yourself. It's not an easy situation trying to take charge of the holiday or festive season. So the summary to all this is that you're not alone, and it's okay to prioritize your own needs as much as those that you'll be caring for. But there are moments of joy in this, and it is a holiday season. And with planning, a bit of support, it is possible to give yourself a bit of that holiday because you deserve it. Throughout that year, you have been trying to put others first, and I think it's time, if possible, and to be honest, let's be realistic, it might not always be possible, but do remember that you can try and put space for yourself. It might have to be done with planning. You might have to negotiate setting boundaries, however unpleasant that might feel, and with some support, you might actually get a bit of that holiday for yourself. I'd say look after yourself. Thanks for listening. If you like this lecture from a lived experience point of view, give it a like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks again.